listeners, what is up? Halloran is on. Is Ivan Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lindsay.
Rachel.
Man.
It's like, it's like a lot of stuff going on. You know what I mean? It's stuff. I saw Big George Foreman last night.
The movie?
Yeah, I saw the movie last night. Went to the premiere.
I feel like I haven't seen a lot of talk about it. I know it's out there. I didn't realize it was dropping this soon. But how was it? And who's the guy who plays him?
Chris Davis.
Okay.
I've seen him from Atlanta. He beat the shit out of Ern that time.
Okay.
But remember him?
Yeah.
Remember him? He beat the Ern's like, yo, you got the cards to beat this? Nah, he plays Big George Foreman. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys about Big George Foreman. I'm gonna be honest with you about the movie. I was almost certain the movie was gonna be trash.
It's not getting good attention.
I'll be honest with you. I liked it.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Is it sort of a paint by numbers biopic? Yeah, but at the end of the movie, I don't know if you guys know, but at the end of the movie, George Foreman knocks out Michael Moore and becomes the oldest heavyweight champion of all time. That happened in real life. It's not a spoiler, okay?
Yeah.
But by the end of the movie, you cared so much about this story. You cared about this character. You cared about these people. And when you see what George Foreman went through and how he became who he was and how who he was sullen, cut off from the rest of the world, philandering, and how he became the sort of boxing patriarch that he is now, it was a very inspiring story. So I really enjoyed Big George Foreman as a movie. Okay, I liked it.
Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, Big George Foreman.
You know what I saw that was really good? I had to do it for a junket.
What, nigga?
Okay. We'll address that later on in the show. Jury Duty.
Oh, from
Have you seen people talking about this?
Yeah, the comedy show.
Yeah, so it's on Amazon and the freebie, Amazon freebie, and it's I'm trying to figure out it's not a comedy show. It's posed as it's a comedy, but it's posed as a documentary, and everybody's an actor except for this one guy. And he thinks he's filming. The cameras are there in the courtroom because they're doing a docuseries on being a juror. So he's a real person, but everybody else is an actor. And James Marsden's the biggest star in it. And this could have gone incredibly wrong or incredibly right, which it did. And it's so funny because it's improv, the whole thing. They had scenarios, but they didn't have any dialogue in their scripts. And so it's just, I wasn't expecting it to be that. And it's really good. So that you would enjoy it. Check out 30 minutes. 30-minute shows.
So James Marsden is in it? The guy doesn't know who James Marsden is?
No, he plays himself.
Oh,
so it's an LA
great.
Jury. It's an LA jury. So it makes sense to see a celebrity. And it's funny because people are like, oh, can I take a picture with you? And then the guy who's the real person is like, you look familiar, but I don't know. And he goes, oh, I was in this, this, and this. And he goes, oh, you were in Sonic, right? And he goes, I heard that was really bad.
Yeah.
And like, he's just, because he's just a regular person. Anyways, it's really, really good. It's funny. You should check it out.
Well, this is what I'll say, is I'll watch it, but I have problems accepting it at first.
Because
when I think of Jury Duty, I don't think of shows like that. I think of The Weasel, Pauly Shore, and the movie Jury Duty from back in the day. We's the juice. He is the weed. So, you remember Pauly Shore?
I know who he is.
You don't remember you don't remember The Weasel?
Of course. I've never seen it.
No, The Weasel is not a movie. The Weasel was his persona. He's the Weasel. You don't remember him as the Weasel?
No.
Pauly Shore is the Weasel.
No. Have you ever been on a jury?
Fuck that. Like, Donnie, do you remember?
Have you ever been on a jury? You avoid it. You avoid jury duty. Got it.
I went there for one time and they didn't pick me. I got a day off from
Did you
TMZ.
say something outrageous?
No, I was there and they just didn't pick me. It was like, look at this nigga. Nah, he gonna vote no. Get him out of here. We need to send this guy to jail. But so you don't have any respect for Pauly Shore?
I didn't say that. I wasn't ever into the Pauly Shore movies.
Donnie, did you
I
ever?
don't think I've seen one of them.
You never saw Son-in-Law?
No.
Biodome?
Mm-mm.
In the Army Now?
There's that caveman movie.
No.
Encino Man?
Yeah.
That's
No.
not a, well, you know, you guys are, I keep forgetting you guys are a lot younger. So you guys never even saw when he was on MTV or whatever. Anyway, so.
I know who he is.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You guys, look, I'm old. Fuck it. We got to get into the podcast. We're going to dispense with the pleasantries a little bit here because there's a lot of sad shit happening. Let's just start right now. Real quick before we get into the first topic, we're just going to say goodbye to a couple of people. Harry Belafonte died, age 96. A worthy life, a useful life, a life of service, sacrifice, and excellence. He's an EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. Died at his home in New York in the 1950s. Recorded a bunch of different songs, Deo, Calypso movement. He was part of that, but really became a useful servant of this planet by being a part of the movement to establish the rights of Black people here in this country. He was a tireless fighter for humanity.
Yeah. And not in just this country. I mean, the work that he was doing in Africa, he was, big on the anti-apartheid movement. One of not creators, but the people who were bringing, why can't I think of words right now? One of the guys who was getting people together for We Are the World. He did Live Aid. As Van already said, he was a huge humanitarian. And when I saw that he passed away, I knew he was older, and I knew he was in his 90s. But that was the first thought, like something you said at the beginning. I was like, gosh, but what a life he lived. Yeah. He did so much and was such a trailblazer, even with that 1950s. I mean, Deo is used so much. That's a song from the 50s, and people sing it. No, it's not. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Come on. Why are you looking at me like it's not?
I'm not looking at it. It's like, he's helped end apartheid, but shit, Deo?
No, I wasn't done. I was going through it, but I'm just saying how influential a song from the 50s was, even into present day. I'm just showing his influence. I wasn't even done with that, but whatever. Now I'm not even going to continue anymore. I'm just trying to honor the life of Harry Belafonte. That's all I'm trying to do. Just trying to show his reach, just trying to show his importance, how involved he was with politics, foreign policy, how outspoken he was. In such a fearless way. I mean, he had such great mentors. You talked about Dr. Martin Luther King, but Paul Robeson was who, mentored him. And so it's just giving to the civil rights movement, giving money towards it, behind the scenes, in front, just so much that he was involved in. And I hate that sometimes you don't talk about it until they pass away. But as he passed and you're remembering all these things he's done, it's just like, what a beautiful man.
It was interesting to see the tributes come in because so many different generations of activists were inspired and close to him. I saw Jesse. I saw Cap. I saw people a little bit older, the Cornel West and people like that of the world. Whatever age group, movement, cultural time was pushing forward for change, whoever you were, he made sure to tap in with you so that he could be a resource, share information, and help guide you to be able to accomplish your goals. He was always right there, always accessible to people that are out there trying to make the world a better place. Rest in peace, Harry Belafonte. Just this morning, Jerry Springer passed away. 79 years old, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Of course, he was the host of the Jerry Springer Show. You guys know the Jerry Springer Show. And listen, we're not going to sit here and act like the Jerry Springer Show was some type of high art, amazing cultural expression. But what I will say about the life of Jerry Springer is this. I happen to know a little bit about his life. Covered him for a History Channel show that's coming out pretty soon. That is an incredible story about how Jerry Springer went from being the mayor of a major American city, having a scandal, telling the truth and being open about his scandal, being reelected, trying to get higher government office, not succeeding, but then pivoting his life to being iconic and noteworthy somewhere else. Say what you want about the Jerry Springer Show. The Jerry Springer Show did not highlight the best of anybody. That's not what it was about. It was about mindless fun in the middle of the day, and a whole generation knows what it is. But the life of Jerry Springer himself, I'm not saying that he cured cancer or invented the polio vaccine, but it's a life of a lot of perseverance and a shrewd cultural operator. It really is. There are a lot of lessons in there about how to start over, about how to take chances and all of that stuff. So shout out to Jerry Springer.
That was really nice, man.
I don't have anything to add. You know what's crazy?
No, I'm listening to you talk about how he picked himself up. But then I just, in my mind, I just kept thinking, as a white man. As a white man.
Oh, come
as
on.
a white man.
Jesus Christ.
I couldn't stop. I was like, who are we talking about here? I'm not saying he didn't have a life of controversy. And I'm very interested in this History Channel thing that you did, because I don't even really know all of that about him. But I'm like, sure, yeah. He picked himself up as a white man.
All right. I'm saying, look, I get it. I was impressed with some of the things that Jerry Springer. Now, I'm not saying that the guy wasn't a fucking saint. He got the scandal was that
What was the scandal?
he bought some pussy and paid for it with a check.
A government check?
I don't know if it was a government check, but he used the check to solicit a prostitute, or a sex worker, whatever. However you say it, that's the right way. And so he got in trouble. And then he just came out. He was honest about it's going to make one day for a really, really funny movie. It really will. It's going to make for
city?
Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
So like a major American city.
Yeah,
like Cincinnati. It's going to make for a really, really funny movie one day. Just kind of everything that Jerry Springer went on in his life. Okay. Look, somebody else died. What? What's the what the I'm just saying, somebody else passed away. Carolyn Bryant. She is Carolyn Bryant Dunham. She was the lady who lied on Emmett Till. She died. She was 88 years old. She passed away in Westlake, Louisiana. Calcasieu Parish over there. Shout out to Calcasieu Parish.
What was my response in the group chat?
You said you felt nothing.
I feel nothing.
But there's nothing to feel.
No, not at all.
Do you know if people, she's 88.
Long life.
Suffered absolute
Long life she had.
zero consequences. So if anything, the lesson, you know what? Oh, fuck it. What am I mincing words from? If anything, the lesson for her life is that you can fuck over a nigga in any kind of way that you want, and you can die quietly and peacefully at your home, surrounded by your grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. And for everybody that's celebrating the fact that she died, I don't see why. She won. She lived to damn near 90.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Till was killed when he was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of this, the big deal of the day, the mouse versus the moron. Disney is taking on Ron DeSantis next on Higher Learning. All right, Disney has sued him. Disney has sued him. Fuck you, Ron DeSantis. A lawsuit claims that a political effort is hurting business for the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. You ever been down there, Rachel, to the Walt Disney World? You ever been down there?
I have. I've been a couple of times.
I'd like to go down there and have a good time. I've never been.
You never been to Disney World? We should go.
Only to Disneyland.
It's an experience. I haven't been in a really long time.
Wrong.
You've been.
I definitely have been to Disney World. What am I talking about?
Are you okay?
Yeah, like, wait, I'm tripping. I definitely have been to Disney World. What am I doing?
So it's been a while, is what you're saying.
It's been a long
while.
time.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Okay.
I've definitely been down there. But yeah, look, I don't know if you guys are aware of what's going on out there in higher learning land, but there's a big fight happening between Ron DeSantis and Disney. Now, how this started was the putrid and disgusting Don't Say Gay bill that was passed out there in Florida. Disney was on Ron DeSantis' ass about it a little bit. Now, this happened at first when Bob Chapek was the CEO of Disney, and he came out in support of the LGBT community, which Disney has always tried to support, maybe not in their movies, but in their theme parks. They have Gay Day at Disneyland. They like to be seen as an ally. So when the bill was first coming, Bob Chapek, who was criticized by not moving fast enough on it at first, eventually positioned himself and the company as staunch critics, enemies of what Florida was doing. Now Bob Iger is back, and it's the same thing. Disney is trying to use kind of the leverage that it has to shame Florida. Now, in response to that, DeSantis, are you aware of what DeSantis has been doing, Rachel?
Yes.
Yes. Would you tell the people what he's been doing in response to it, please? It's not just me talking out my fucking head.
Okay, so what DeSantis did was basically he tried to figure out how he could use his power to take power away from Disney. So there's a board or a district there that governs Disney. And so what he did was he restructured that district and shut them down, and then started his own district called the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. And he appointed the 5-member oversight board. Before, those members were named through entities that were controlled by Disney. So they oversaw the area and all of that. So now DeSantis created a new board. The board has been picked by DeSantis, so they have power over Disney. But what happened was before there was the change in the old district and the new district created by DeSantis, they voted, Disney and the original board had an agreement. And when the new district came in, I hope this is all making sense. The new district came in, they said that agreement was invalid. And the agreement was to keep Disney in control of who was on the board and the same rights that they had under the original district. So when the new board came in, they were like, no, this agreement is not valid. And we didn't have notice and all of these different things. And at that point, Disney sued them.
Right. So when Disney first came to Central Florida back in the day, they were like, hey, we don't want you guys to have to wait for us to approve stuff so you can do the stuff that you need to do. So, hey, this little area, y'all just take it. Y'all just take this little area. Y'all can make the area, do whatever you want there, make up your own little rules about the stuff that you need to do to be able to move the economics forward. And DeSantis was like, well, if you're fucking with me, I don't want you to have that area anymore. We'll take it back and then we'll do whatever we want, which is like put a prison there or whatever. Because see, the problem that Disneyland in LA has and Anaheim has is that they popped their fucking goddamn theme park up, and then they didn't have any control about what went on around the theme park. So because they didn't have any control about what went on around the theme park, that means that like people put up a whole bunch of cheap motels and people, fucking run a freeway through your shit. On the other side, they don't have very much control about how they can expand. They don't have very much control about how the area around the park looks. Now, if you go to Disneyland, it's fine. But when Disney was moving to Florida, they wanted to have more control of not just the park itself, but if they needed more land for the park, the businesses that were going to be around the park, all of that stuff. And so they had a little fight going on down there. And Ron DeSantis said, fuck it. Said, fuck it to them. And he's mad. Disney's suing. They're saying that there's been a political effort from Ron DeSantis to make the mouse look bad, to sully the nose of Mickey. Okay? They say that DeSantis is jeopardizing its economic future in the region and violating its constitutional rights of free speech, because Disney says, as a corporation, they have free speech and they have the right to say anything that they want about the Don't Say Gay bill, and they can say it as long as they want, and there's nothing that Ron DeSantis should be able to do about it, okay? We've been going back and forth with this, about this for a year. Rachel, your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think this is bad for DeSantis. Like, DeSantis gets a lot of attention for the extreme measures that he takes and what he's implementing in the state of Florida. But nationwide, this is assuming that he is going to announce his presidential run for 2024. Nationwide, what he's doing, I don't think will be well received. And it's these things like this that where he's using his government power to, trump something that a corporation is doing, or to penalize a corporation doesn't favor well, I believe, with voters outside of this small group in Florida. And even in Florida, I think he's going to lose people with this, because one of the things that handpicked board that he had, that is now the new district that wants to run, the area that Disney's in, they're talking about raising the taxes for businesses. And when they had their board meeting, they listened to small business owners complain about the fact that taxes may be raised under this new district under DeSantis. I think he keeps doing too many things and focusing so much on social issues and getting caught up in that he's really putting the nail in his coffin when it comes to this 2024 presidential run. If he loses this case and Disney beats him, it's going to make him look even worse. So I just think that this is DeSantis putting his foot in his mouth. And I think this looks really, really bad for him. He should have stopped while he was ahead. I don't think he ever thought Disney would sue.
Can't beat
But this is Bob Iger.
Bob Iger. You know what I thought about when I thought about this?
What?
Swimming pools.
Okay.
Swimming pools.
I'm
tell you why.
ready to go on the ride.
Are you ready to go on the ride? We should we should talk about this. Like whenever I'm about to fucking just be a blowhard, it's like, okay, Rachel's ready for the ride. She knows it. I'll tell you why I thought about swimming pools. Okay, I want everybody to understand what Disney means to Florida, period, but Central Florida specifically. Okay. So $75.2 billion in annual income in terms of economic impact for Central Florida. I'll say it again. $75.2 billion annual economic impact for Central Florida. Disney. Okay. 463,000 jobs. $5.8 billion in additional tax revenue. Disney. Now, I'm not saying that the park generates all that, but the businesses around the park, the hotels around the park, the interest that the park draws, there's a little theme park movement there in Central Florida where there's Universal Studios, there's a couple other like off-brand parks and stuff like that. All of that exists because Walt Disney World was first. And with about 65,000 to 70,000 direct employees there, they're one of the biggest employers in Florida. Let me tell you why I thought about swimming pools. There's a great book that people should read. It's called The Sum of Us: What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. The book is by Heather McGee. Okay. There's a part in this book that was fascinating to me. Real quick, I'm going to make the ride short. So, in the 20s and the 30s, maybe not the 20s and 30s, maybe it was the 30s and 40s and the 50s. But anyway, in the earlier part of the last century, there was this sort of nationwide initiative to build these amazing swimming pools. These palatial, big, almost bath-inspired public swimming pools. And they were going to be everywhere. And a lot of them were built. And communities would have places, not like regular public pools, but communities would have these like really super and supreme big pools like you would see in Europe and stuff. And it was happening everywhere, right? Heather talks about this in the book. These were public works. So like in Baton Rouge, where I'm from, we have BREC, Baton Rouge Park and Recreations, or Baton Rouge Recreation, whatever it is.
Gotcha.
So you have BREC League, you play basketball, whatever, BREC Park, every park is a BREC Park, whatever like that. So BREC would build this stuff. You know, that's state and city money. So after a while, you know, these parks were being built, and just the people listening to my voice, do you think that Black people were allowed to go swim in these parks? No. They were either explicitly told or intimated to that these big fancy swimming pools aren't for you guys. You can't go to these parks. Don't go there. You can't go. Okay. After a while, do you know what Black people said? Well, we're paying our tax dollars for these parks to be built and these swimming pools to be built, and we can't go there and swim. It's bullshit. This is why this reminds me of Disney. Rather than let Black people swim in their parks, do you know what they did?
No.
They filled them motherfuckers up with dirt.
Jesus.
They got rid of them. They stopped it wholesale across the nation in all types of different communities. Not only did they stop it, but things outside of the parks, like some of the parks had zoos. One place in Alabama filled up the swimming pool with dirt and sold all the fucking animals.
When was this?
This was in the 50s and the 60s. Rather than share what they have with people who they deem to be undesirable, they'll sabotage it all. And so when I'm looking at Ron DeSantis, who is so hell-bent on criminalizing being gay in Florida, on putting some sort of stigma, suppression, oppression on being gay in Florida, that he is willing to piss off one of the biggest revenue drivers in the entire state, $75 billion, 500,000 jobs, almost $6 billion in revenue for the state. He's filling up his swimming pool. He's filling up his swimming pool rather than understanding that what he's doing is discriminatory and anti-American. The Don't Say Gay bill is indefensible. It's indefensible for myriad reasons. But he is so hell-bent on not sharing, not progressing, not moving forward, that he would rather put dirt in his own swimming pool than let somebody who's LGBTQ swim in it with him. And so, like, when I was thinking about that, I'm like, yo, the pathology that exists, this is real. This is what's happening down there. It's totally irrational.
Absolutely.
It makes absolutely zero sense from a governing standpoint for the governor of a state. It's bonkers. My question is, do the people like it?
No.
You say they don't. I don't know.
Florida may. Look outside of Florida. This is the man who's potentially, if he wants to stay the governor of Florida, I'm sure he can. We're talking about him in the context of possibly weeks away from announcing that he's going to be running in 2024. Everything that you just said is why I said it's his downfall. He's gone too far. He's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's listening to Floridians praise him. He's surrounding himself with those type of people, and he's not in tune with the rest of the country. People don't want this. They don't want somebody who's going to use government power to shut corporations down, which is kind of anti-Republican. Like you're using like it's. I don't think people want this. I really not. I take that back. It's not think. People don't want this.
Well, we'll see how it affects
Floridians
him. He's looking like a crazy bastard. Is what he's looking like. We'll see how it affects him. We'll see if it affects him. But I don't know. I just thought about, read back in the day about places in the South that could have benefited from all types of New Deal initiatives and stuff like that. But when they realized that it was going to help black farmers, they went, no, we would rather be poor than have a nigga eat.
It's wild.
You know what I mean? And so when I see the Don't Say Gay bill is so wrong. When you're willing to go to the mattresses and fuck up the money for so many people, and for Disney pays their employees around $18 or $19 an hour. They're one of the highest hourly employee payers in the state. I could see if Disney was wrong. If Disney was like fucking polluting the state, toxic waste, you know what I mean? Making everybody ride. It's a small world. All of that's doing something that was wrong. Because if they did that, I would be against Disney. That ride's weird. Sometimes it could be weirdly soothing if you got the right drugs in you, but they're not. He's going for it anyway. Okay, Tucker Carlson is back. Put dirt in his goddamn pool. Tucker Carlson is back. Donnie played. Tucker is in another fucking world. Donnie played.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people who really care about what's true. And a bunch of hilarious people also. A lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future. This nigga
off. That's enough. Y'all can watch the rest of it on Twitter. I already watched that bitch. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to see it, what is it, like 2 minutes or something like that? He's talking about what he's going to do. He's being very cryptic and very just broad in what he's talking. He doesn't address specifically what happened in Fox. Delusional?
Delusional in the sense of like, I mean, he at one point is like, I know, I worked for them. But it's like the things that you're saying, that you're realizing that you're stepping away from the noise and how things should be, you did not contribute to that in any way with your programming at all. And people like weren't coming and having these certain debates. That's not the type of show that you had. I watched it and I was like, that's not the message I thought that he would have when he decided to speak to everyone. And he wasn't cryptic about, I'll see you soon. So we know he's coming to something.
Yeah.
Some type of platform soon.
All right. We're going to be quick on this because I don't give too much of a fuck, but this is a pivot. Tucker Carlson was able to do something in that I don't know if people are getting. He was able to levy a small degree of criticism to the right.
Absolutely.
This is a pivot. I don't know if we got to let you guys, both sides,
Absolutely.
Everyone. This is either a pivot to a third party run for president.
You're stuck on that.
Could be. Look, I got people. I got birdies.
We know. We know.
I'm Ravens. I'm Littlefinger. I'm Fatfinger.
You want to bet on it? I do not think he's running.
You ever watched Game of Thrones? How Littlefinger everybody knew?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say fat bastard.
I'm Fatfinger. I'm the fat guy with all the little ravens that go out. I don't run a whorehouse. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Matter of fact, don't compare me to people who have whores. I don't. We can get mad. Okay. Now, either a third party run for president or some sort of we are really straight down the middle type InfoWar situation. I could see him being the next Alex Jones in a way, because Alex Jones and guys of that ilk have been roundly deplatformed. So you have to go into the kind of corners of the internet to kind of find him. But I could see him doing something like that. But Tucker, we were wondering where Tucker was. We covered it. We don't really give too much of a fuck. I'm not gonna lie. Or at least I don't. I can't speak for Rach.
No. I mean, it was just worth noting. Noted.
So we have a treat here, an interview with Allen Hughes, great director, and the mind behind Dear Mama, which is a documentary series coming on right now on FX Hulu that tells the story of Tupac and Afeni Shakur. That's up next for you guys. All right, now, guys, this is a big moment for me. Big moment for me in my career, in my life. Have somebody that's really inspired me over the decades. When I started first forming my film brain, this was one of the two brothers, should I say, that I looked up to. We have Allen Hughes on Higher Learning today. He's here to talk about Dear Mama, which is a fantastic documentary that's out right now that looks at the life of Tupac and Afeni Shakur. And a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are discussing it. But this brother's career stretches so far back that I'm really, really proud and honored to have him on Higher Learning today. Mr. Hughes, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Van. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Rachel.
Questions. Lots of Tupac documentaries. I've watched them all. Why this story? Why this angle? Why now?
Did I get the name wrong? I'm sorry. No. That's it's funny. I don't know. There's a dizzying dozens of Tupac docs, right? Most of them, unfortunately, leaning too far into the murder, death row thing, and there was a good one, the resurrection in his own voice. That was
really
well done. Yeah. And it was unique in that I'm like, wow, this is an interesting journey. We're feeling this whole thing through his own voice. So that was bold at the time, but also a feature length. And it was 24 years ago. And, you got to get in there. And so why now? I think, Afeni Shakur is obviously an unsung hero in history, who's all but been erased, if not for her son and what she did. And being raised by a single activist mother myself, I felt that I could find more about that whole journey, his journey, through her journey.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you did, just because it's titled Dear Mama. We all know the song, but there's not much. That's my fault. There's not much. If it leaves gaps in to learn more about her, and you're able to do this through this series. I wanted to ask you this. Was there any hesitation? You answered the why now, but was there any hesitation on your part to be a part of this when you and Tupac had a complicated history?
There was 100% hesitation to be part of it. And not just because of Tupac and my brother, our personal history, as complex as it was, because I would say that over the intense year of friendship we had, the little altercation was about 5 minutes. So I would hate for that to eclipse that. But also just making these things. I did one called The Defiant Ones a few years back, and I had to check myself into a mental health retreat after that, because it's you're giving up. It's so real. You're dealing with people's lives and spirits and journeys, and there's this thing called hip hop in the 90s. There were some literal bodies left in the wake too. And both these documentaries, I got to deal with that. So that's a lot of emotional luggage to take on. So it's not just about the history that Tupac and I shared, even that dark 5 minutes. It's about like how difficult it is to do these. And I didn't think I was going to run right back into one. You see what happens. 4 years went by. I haven't done a feature film. I haven't done a television show. It's just been all this,
Yeah. When I first heard that you were doing it, obviously I thought, oh, well, there's the famous story about the altercation between you and Tupac on while you guys were doing this in society. I wondered how people would react to it. And I really hadn't heard a lot about that reaction until recently. One of the outlaws, Napoleon, went on the Art of Dialogue, and he had some thoughts about whether or not you should be doing the documentary because of you and Tupac's relationship. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, were you and Pac ever able to reconcile? Was this something that you, a relationship that you had more with his mom? What did you say about to people in his life that were like, well, why is he doing it?
Well, I think that's real small-minded, and for anyone to feel that. But I understand it because we think with our small minds first, our lower selves, and go, oh, why? But what kind of like evil person it would take to want to do Tupac's story and like do him wrong because of some personal moment they had? I can't even think like that. I don't see the world like that. I see the world and like, how do we get some understanding? Could this be cathartic for all parties involved? Could it be cathartic for me? And there's no way, being me and my brother started our careers with him, and he essentially started his career, his personal image making career with us. He chose us, and so no, I understand Napoleon's, and there were a few haters out there like that. Thank God I've felt that people have come around and go, oh no, there's a tremendous amount of love in this piece. I don't rose color the lenses, but you can feel the love. And what was the second part of the question?
Oh, I mean, that's pretty much it. The question was just like, did you?
That was a good one.
The question was, did you and Tupac ever get a chance to reconcile while he was alive?
That's a good one. I think I now know. I knew at the time that the apology came in the Vibe magazine, the famous Vibe magazine interview, that he also apologized to Quincy Jones in the same sentence. And I recently discovered his famous interview with Tabitha Soren, where he apologized again. But not only that, she asked him would he work with us, and he goes on to say like some really beautiful things that I never knew until 6 months ago. So no, we never personally got to do it, but I'll put that more on me than him. Even I can understand his hesitation to personally reach out, but if I had saw what I saw 6 months ago in real time, I probably would have reached out to him.
Damn.
So we never personally got to do it, but I feel it just happened in this 4-year journey. I think that happened. I feel him more than I've ever felt him. I feel compassion for him, and I feel a sense of, it's not the word closure, just complete understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. You said that you think that he's one of the most misunderstood figures of the 20th century. Why do you think that? And then I also read that you talked about how doing this and learning a lot more about his mom and her narrative, that would maybe help people understand him more. Or maybe you, I'm not sure if you were talking about yourself as well. Could you speak to that too?
That's right. I think he's one of the most misunderstood figures of the 20th century for one reason. He was available to any emotion he was in. And people wonder why he's riddled with contradictions when the power is burning that bright. Any great woman, any great man has got to be riddled with contradictions. But also, I think he's singular in one way. He's one of one in the 20th century, in that we can project whatever we want into him or unto him, like the Bible. You want to see violence, you'll see violence. You want to see love, you see love. You want to see a fighter, you want to see a saint, a sinner. Tupac is like one of those rare figures that people see what they want in him. And that's biblical. So to try to understand him, knowing that, I didn't know that till about 6 months ago, that part. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? What's the saying? The sins of the father will fall on the son, or whatever. Well, what about the thoughts and actions of the single mother and how they affect her children? We never talk about that.
So let's talk about Afeni right now. As a fan of Tupac, I am the Tupac generation. I was 16 when Pac got killed, right?
Ooh.
So we were the group of people that had anointed him as our cultural captain, and we listened to what he said. Like Tupac said, be mad at this guy, we were mad at this guy. Tupac said, do this, we were mad. Tupac said, that was how deep we were into it. And also, to see a man of that age be that vulnerable about his relationship with his mother.
Mm.
Like, not just the song, but who she was, how she made him. You know, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so it's all about what your daddy did to you and how your daddy made you stand up straight like your dad. But you got so much of who he was from his mom. I just remember listening to Dear Mama, and he says, even as a crack fiend, mama, you was my black queen. I was like, I would never in life say that about my mom. That type of truth about the relationship is just crazy. What did you learn about her and how who she was created this person that was able to inspire people and still inspires people today? It really came from her.
I love your phrase. I think Fanny was the number one cultural captain of her time and her crew. You know, she was the wanderer and the wanderer, as her sister said, and not aimlessly. I think her intellect, I think, was her curse and her gift, obviously, because she was so ahead of her time. She was always getting in trouble, too, with her mouth and checking people, you know.
Wow.
Always.
That reminds
That's
me of
not
somebody.
in there a lot. It's not in there a lot, but
yeah.
But, you know, people said they were like twins. And the more you drill down into her history and excavate it, unfortunately, again, it's not like readily available for some reason. Black and a woman. Oh, that's just a double whammy here in America, right?
Yeah.
So, no, he got everything you think you love about Tupac literally came from her. And that's just too voluminous to get into all of it. Even the charisma and the way the command of a room came from her. But, you know, that's not a guarantee that your seed's going to have all those qualities just because you are. I just think it's just an oddity that it all got infused so heavily in him from her. And I always talk about, too, and this may be I don't know if it's a faux pas to say it, but women, we know this is not a faux pas. Women are a lot more in touch with their emotions than men. And that's something we have to start figuring out. But when you're raised by a single mother, I know it's a single mother who's an activist mother, you know, you don't know how to like bite your tongue. There's no such thing as bite your tongue. Yeah. You're in touch with the emotion and you're raised by this activist mother. And traditionally, the father's role is to take the young boy in the walk and go, listen, don't let anyone know what you think. You know, keep your, you know, you get taught that by your father if you have a decent father. Mm-hmm. I related to Tupac because me and my brother got in a lot of trouble back then too when our career started for the very same reason, just speaking our mind, naming names, not as hot as he burnt, don't get me wrong, but I now look back and go, he got that from his mother. He got that never, don't bend the knee for no one. Don't bite your tongue for no one. And I think it probably could use some balance, you know?
Mm-hmm. What else do we see in this series? I know obviously we see the relationship between Tupac and his mom, but I know it goes deeper than that. As we learn about her and the Black Panther Party and some of the other things she did. What else will viewers see as they watch this?
Well, I mean, there is at the center of it is the trial of the Panther 21 in 1970, where she was facing 360 years with her comrades, 21 of them, or 20 of them, you know, and defended herself. So that's at the center of it, you know, not just the history of the Black Panthers and some civil rights history and some post-Panther PTS, post-traumatic stress narratives that run through it, because one of the most important sub-themes I wanted to explore was mental health in the Black community and, you know, Black trauma as it pertained to like the fallen soldiers of the civil rights movement, right? And just Black men and women coming out of whatever war they were in. If you were not even in a war, just being born here comes with its own set of unique traumas. So that's something you'll start to see emerge as you get to part 3, part 4, and then it's directly connected to the thesis about Tupac and who he is as an artist. Because, you know, listen, it's my thesis of, you know, like this kid is an artist first. He's a poet first before he becomes a hip hop artist or recording artist or actor. He is. You'll hear a lot of talk of fantasy, myth making, storytelling. So, you know, you take that combustible powder keg of not having the father, having an activist mother who who had addiction struggles, these displacement issues, because he's all over the place. And then that artist kid meets hip hop, and you see what happens,
Do you see Pac's energy? This is my last Tupac question because I got to ask you about a couple other things too. I just got to
be on Tupac all day. Yeah.
Do you see Pac's energy in any other rappers that are moving around today? Do you see that? Have you seen that energy since him?
I won't say energy, but you know the obvious things of Kendrick and J. Cole and whatever, like some of the mind of it,
Right.
And I can go on. There's ones I don't know of, but like the obvious ones that are saying something. But when you use the word energy, that's what makes him singular. I don't see no rock stars like that transcendent. There's a lot of great art. There's a handful of great artists that are saying things, but none that carry that rock star aura that is truly transcendent. I just don't see that. That he's a one of one though. He's a one of one generation.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you about the biopic you're working on, Snoop Dogg's biopic, and then I'm gonna let Van have his questions because I know he wants to get in there. But the Snoop Dogg biopic. I mean, I know he's involved in Dear Mama as well. And you can, if you can, speak a little bit about that, because just his perspective of being there and then reflecting on what happened years ago, I'm sure is really profound. If you could speak to that, and then also talk about this biopic that you have coming up with him. And then I have another question because I want to know who you want to play Snoop. Who you want?
That's the $1 million. That's the $1 million question. That's a mystery.
Yeah.
Snoop's like, there's probably gonna be some British dude. I said, you're probably right.
No.
They got all the great ones. They're giving the American actors like some real stiff cop because they come up in the theater over in the UK.
Yeah.
And more of our performers and actors need to start taking this shit more serious. Stop trying to be famous and start coming up to the theater. But that's another subject.
Do you think that, because a lot of the Black American performers that I talk to, they don't like that. They don't like the fact that so many of our biopics, when you think about it, Fred Hampton, we had Cynthia Erivo as Harriet Tubman. I think Cynthia Erivo also was, she double dipped because I think she was also Aretha Franklin. A lot of
that's right.
Right, she did. Like she took
Selma
two. Cynthia was like,
Selma?
yeah. Daniel, that was David Oyelowo and Selma. So do you think that the British actors have an advantage over the American actors because of the thing? You do?
100% have an advantage. British actors, period, white, Black, Indian, Asian, have an advantage over American actors because our culture is built on fame. Period. Full stop. People want to be famous. They don't, and now the culture's changed so much that no one's going through the progressions of their steps and are being thorough. Any place that's that hard and that cold, whether you're talking about the UK or Philadelphia or Chicago, is going to breed a lot more character and flavor than the rest, right? But back to Snoop, and I'll use this word, like Snoop was a rare contemporary of mine, man that I adore, and I adore him for one reason: his heart and his mind. He's become a sage. He has this energy that carries over the world like Muhammad Ali had. It's very similar. It's not the same, but it's similar. And it's interconnectivity and wanting to understand and wanting to bring people together through like love, quite frankly, So to see Snoop at 50 talking about the VMAs, what was going on between him and Tupac at Death Row at the time, was heartbreaking to see that Snoop is here to talk about it and evolve as a human being, as a man, and reflect back on those mistakes of boys. And to see Tupac didn't get to, we almost lost Snoop to a murder trial.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And he was that close. So he wouldn't have been here to do any of the positive things that we would have lost him. So that's the reason he brought the biopic to me. I was on the road to making Marvin Gaye, which is a complicated one. And I said, you know what? And we got all the rights. It was already, there was really no problems. But to be frank, I've never said this to anyone. I was like, you know what? I should do Snoop first because it's more in my wheelhouse. people keep asking me and my brother about doing another hood film. Here's an opportunity, but it also transcends the hood. It's inspiring. Yeah. And it's the music I love, and it's a time and a place and a spirit. So I'm like, let me do this first because this I know.
Feel it.
I feel Marvin, but I know this film.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Society comes out. My brother and my sister go see the movie. They're like, nah, you gotta go see this.
How old were you?
Dog, maybe like 13.
Wrong. That's wrong.
maybe like 13. Maybe 13. You know what I mean? Maybe like 13. Because what was it? It was 93.
You got it.
Yeah. So it was like I was like 13. So I went and I saw it by myself too. By the way, big kid. They didn't even know. I walk right in there. It's rated R. Hey, yo, no. So I go in there. I see the movie. I'm like, God damn, he died. Like, what? You know what I mean? It's like I came home. I was like, what the fuck? All right. Then Dead Presidents comes out. Dead Presidents, crazy. Had me mesmerized from litigating the Vietnam War and the way we treat our veterans to like what you have to come back to after you've given your life and the craziness. It was like Miss Society and Boys in the Hood and Platoon, like all in one movie with a heist as well. So I'm like, these guys are crazy. Then From Hell and then the Book of Eli and all of this stuff comes. You guys transition, it seems like, from directed movies that were specifically culturally focused to just Hollywood movies. Johnny Depp is in From Hell, and then you got Denzel in Book of Eli. What was the difference there? What was the difference in working on films like Dead Presidents and Miss Society to when you guys brought that same artistic sense to movies that were a little bit more mainstream Hollywood? And in between there's American Pimp, and there's still stuff that's very much grounded in that. But what was it like? We had the lady who plays Aunt Viv on Bel Air on the show. Cassandra Freeman on the show. And she talked about the difference between some of the black sets and some of the white sets.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
And so was it easier to make those films? Was it easier to make the films that you were making before? Was there a change in the way that you guys went about things?
That's a great question. I think at the time we did From Hell, I just didn't want, in the film community, the business doesn't really respect black filmmakers as artists. They just really don't.
Oh, wow.
And no one's going to say that. Yeah. They respect black musicians as artists because where did it come from? It's been like that since the beginning of music. So they know what it is. It's foreign to them in the film business to bless a young woman or a young man or a grown man or grown woman who's done something really artistic. Recently, we've been getting some glimpses of it. Steve McQueen being one of them, another British cat, but that I can just undeniably go, that's art, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going, hey, we got to go over here and fuck with our guy Johnny, who was loving on us, and something we love. We always obsessed with Jack the Ripper to just show that we're not like some ghetto kids, That was the instinct. But also to your question, once you expand your horizons beyond your existence, you start to see the toys and the resources, and you get those reps in. And From Hell took us to Europe and really opened our minds up. We're biracial kids. We've always been outcasts. And we got to Europe, and I made my first trip to Amsterdam. I'm like, I'm home. I'm home. No one's looking at me funny. There's no weird shit going on, and the music and the food, the way they eat. So it was a mind expanding for us. Denzel was just as mind expanding, although back from Mount Vernon and whatever, but social genius, just like Tupac. I mean, they have the same thing. I don't know what that it thing is, but Denzel's not a slave to his emotions, though. So that's where the difference is. But learned a lot on that film. Again, resources,
Yeah.
And then what's happened, it's come full circle for me, is like, when I think about Dead Presidents, I wish we could make it now, because I see all the mistakes of children in that film, especially that film. Menace, I know why those mistakes are. But I bowed now. I go, you know what? I got a chip on my shoulder about, I think it's a great time for black stories and black filmmakers and writers, don't get me wrong. but I want to devote the rest of my career to telling unique Black stories at a high level with all the resources. And that's what Dear Mama represents to me. You know, I took my time to make that deal with the right network, to make sure it was the right resources there, and even down to the marketing and positioning and all of it. I made sure it was all there so we weren't like erased, you know?
Right. Yeah. So I like to ask a weird question.
I like
this. This is my weird question for you. I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to make the perfect Black movie. Okay. So you're going to make the perfect Black movie. Who's going to direct it? Who's the male lead? Who's the female lead? Who are the supporting actors? Who's going to write it? Perfect Black movie.
God damn.
Doesn't have to be. You don't have to tell me what you're doing it about. Just tell me, like, the perfect Black movie. Male lead, female lead, your supporting actors. Go. What you gonna do?
Damn, I'm gonna jump over the director for a second because that's gonna take a hot second. But I want to be contemporary. I don't want to go with the obvious, like Denzel is lead. We've seen that.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Who's the guy out here really killing him right now? Give me a rotating list.
Okay, I'll give you a rotating list of guys killing, and we're gonna include the British guys too, because they're gonna get mad if we don't. All right, so the guys killing it right now are Lakeith Stanfield, Daniel Kaluuya, Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Rachel, throw some in here. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Yeah.
He's good. Yeah. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, like he's out there. Who else? There are more. There's so many guys.
The female side?
There's more. I'm trying.
The female side is going to be Tessa Thompson, Nicole Bihari, Issa Rae.
Oh, I like Issa. Yeah.
Issa Rae is great.
And have we seen her in anything dramatic? Because I would like to.
I haven't seen Issa in anything too dramatic yet.
Yeah.
Besides what's been going on. Dominic Fishback.
Oh, that's
you have from Swarm. Okay.
Yeah.
Zazie Beetz from Atlanta. You have a lot of talent right there. You're gonna
Which one is that one from Atlanta?
Zazie Beetz.
Yo, you know what? You know, this is gonna sound crazy, but if you can get that dude Terrence Nance, to like do something linear, let's start with that as a director.
That's your director. He is I love that guy.
Yeah, start
Terrence
with him.
Nance. Terrence Nance is our director. Wow,
he's our director. I don't know who the writer is because I'm not on the streets hard enough with this one right now. But I'm working with one I'm loving right now, Joe Robert Cole, who did the Black Panther films and also did the People versus OJ with Ryan Murphy. I like him. Okay. But of all those actors, I'm trying to see who I want to see with Terrence Nance. I'll take Yahya.
Yahya. So
and I want
Yahya. Okay.
And not because this ain't a talent test, because a lot of those people, you know, like Yahya has a thing though, if he can come into it, that looks like it's feeling like leading man with gravitas. Mm-hmm. And now we need to put a woman with him, a young woman with him. Mm-hmm. What is not because Issa hasn't done. There's someone in Atlanta. No, it's not Atlanta. No, who is the girl I'm thinking about? The girl, woman, Allen. Don't say girl. Shit. I have to circle back. I'll circle back.
What is she? What is she in? Can you think about what she's in? And we'll cut it together to make sure. Because if you think about what she's in, I can help you out.
I can feel her energy right now, but I can't think about what she's in. Okay. You know, it's so interesting. I do like this too. It's like I remember I'll clock things like that before I know people's names too. I go, yo, she's incredible, you know, and it's just this nuanced thing. And you know what? That says a lot. You know, we know Viola's gotten all her flowers, thank God, right? Mm-hmm. But what young woman in her late 20s and early 30s is meant to be her generation's Meryl Streep?
They make sisters go through 12, 13, 14 years of proving themselves before they give them the opportunity to kind of do that. It's changing a little bit now, but normally it takes a long time.
See, you just uncovered something. Dr. Dre was saying to me, here's a provocative notion here. You know, why in certain Black films, you know, he asked me where, you know, like the acting's a little choppy. Not all, but like certain. I go, well, they don't get the reps. They don't get the ball. You know, like you got to get the ball and get the reps. And now the men have generally gotten the reps. But we know what happens with females of any nationality. race
That's
or
true.
creed, right? So speaking of Afeni, so, you know, we got to take it upon ourselves to make sure that more Black female stories are told, because the fact that we're sitting here and we have an easier time reciting the men and don't the women
Right.
is
Yeah,
a big
it's tough.
problem. It's a big
What about
problem.
what about Zendaya? What
Well,
about
she's magical in a different kind of way. I think her test is going to be now stepping into that womanhood, and I think
Yeah.
she's gonna meet that challenge. But she's got like, she's special. There's no doubt about it. She's special. Ain't no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
very talented? I could talk to you about film. Talk about you see the mistakes in Dead Presidents. Get out of here. Knock it off. Like I could talk to you about this forever, man. I'm happy to have had you on. Like really, the stuff that you guys did during that time, especially for someone like myself, it was just inspirational. Because it was
thank you so
when
much.
Spike came, John came, and then for there to be more Black filmmakers coming up making stuff that we could really glom onto, we couldn't get enough of it. So
Thank you for that.
amazing I've had you on, brother. And everybody check out Dear Mama. It is a fantastic emotional ride. Learn as much about Tupac as you can. Allen Hughes, thank you for joining us today on Higher Learning, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for taking my learning to a higher place.
All right, brother. All right, my man. Peace.
Take care.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye. Rachel, are you a fan of the WWE?
No,
You don't like wrestling?
I don't watch it. I grew up, my dad watched it, so, you know,
Who's your dad's favorite wrestler?
Ric Flair. And Sting. And Sting. My dad likes Sting. So that was more WCW, but that's what we grew up watching. My
Donnie.
dad would always be on the N64 playing the game
Your dad, what? The judge?
all the time. He would be like, invite your friends over to play. Because I would play.
That's so crazy. It's just, I just thought of like your friends coming in and the judge coming in there.
My guy
playing,
friends would come over and play. Yeah.
like he'd be in his robe playing with them in the judge's robe.
Man, I know that's what you want. But when he gets off the bench, he takes the robe off. He's never brought it home. I
So-
hate to disappoint you. He's never
You're telling
brought
me
it
right
home.
now he's never worn the robe at the house. You've never seen him in the robe in the house. I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
I hate to disappoint you.
I don't believe you. I just don't believe, because I know that if it were me, I would be in the robe all the time. Like if it were me, I'd be in that motherfucking robe. Like I wake up in the morning, like I have the robe. Okay, whatever. So interesting. The WWE is being sued by a former writer, alleges retaliation over racist scripts. Her name is Brittany Abrams, and she's a former WWE writer. She's filed a lawsuit against the company and Vince McMahon for retaliation she says she faced for raising objections about scripts that contained offensively racist and stereotypical jargon for Black wrestlers. She's Black.
Mhm.
She's hired by the WWE as a writer for Raw and Friday Night SmackDown in 2020. She says that they used racial stereotypes, including one that instructed a current Raw wrestler, Bianca Belair, to say, don't make me take off my earrings and beat your ass.
It's not funny.
And she didn't want to write that. Another, a call for Apollo Crews to talk with a stereotypical and exaggerated Nigerian accent. Other pictures, she said, had a Black male wrestler dressed in drag, and on a separate occasion, one writer allegedly proposed giving a Muslim wrestler a secret that they were revealed that they were behind the 9/11 attacks. Okay. She was fired in 2022 after continuously exposing and opposing the racist and sexist pictures. The reason that she was given for a firing was that she took a chair branded with the WrestleMania 38 logo on it. Wow, see? That's not funny. See, Donnie? See? It's funny when you read. That's not funny. It's not. See, Rachel, when I read this in the document, I was like, Donnie should have put this a different way. Because I was like, like, you know what I'm saying? When I read this in the document,
I was waiting for you to get to it too.
That's the reason they gave. She took a chair.
When I read this in the document, I was like, Donnie should have put this in a different way because it's like that she took a chair branded with the WrestleMania 38 logo. She took a WrestleMania chair. It was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you're fired. It's like, I'm like, I laughed when I read it.
I did too.
You know what strikes me about this?
What?
I watched wrestling for a lot of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like I'm from the South, so wrestling's like a part of the culture. I saw Ted DiBiase at the Tiger truck stop one time. It's like, oh my God, it's $1 million man.
Oh.
They would come through, they come through the Baton Rouge. The Centralplex this Sunday. Macho Man, Randy Savage, they come through. So NWO, the Mega Powers, DX. I've watched wrestling for a long time. I haven't really watched it since I got in my 20s, but I still keep up with it every now and again.
Oh,
Just
do
my
you?
friends. Well, no, it's like, I asked my wrestling friends who are so into it. Shout out Cass, who was on this channel. Shout out my homeboy Ryan Satin. A lot of people I know that are Wale, they're really into wrestling. Every once in a while, I'll be like, I wonder if I'm missing anything by not being into wrestling now. So I'll talk to them about wrestling a little bit or watch old promos. Wrestling is exactly like the NFL. It's the same thing.
Mm.
The NFL has an overt race problem that it doesn't even try to hide. So much so to where it seems like sometimes that the NFL is actually leaning into its race problem. Wrestling has always been racist.
Always.
From the characters that the guys portray and have portrayed to the things that Vince McMahon said the N-word live on Monday Night Raw, I think it was. Booker T said the N-word, but it was a lot funnier. Wrestling has always played into racist, sexist, stereotypical tropes, homophobic tropes, always. But it exists in this cultural bubble like the NFL to where nobody cares. And I'm not just talking about racism as it pertains to the performers themselves as wrestlers. I'm talking about behind the scenes, racist stuff, racial scandals, Hulk Hogan, all of that stuff. Like, you've had black wrestlers complain of the way that they're treated or whether or not they get the opportunities to have storylines or titles or any of that stuff. Wrestling has always, particularly the WWE, but pro wrestling has always had a race problem, but it's just not something that seems to be discussed in sake of the entertainment, much like the NFL.
And that's what I would want to ask somebody who's really into wrestling, because I would argue that that wrestling is more overt. It's more outrageous because of the things that they're having their wrestlers say to one another and then just say in general. You mentioned Ted. Ted used to have a black bodyguard, Virgil, who he called a slave and used to rub his feet. Like, even as a kid, I would see like the junkyard dog, yap, yap, yap. And he was wearing a collar around his neck. You don't remember the junkyard dog?
I absolutely remember JYD. And just be careful the way you talk about JYD.
No. My dad actually really liked the junkyard dog.
JYD was all we had, man.
But I remember seeing this guy with chains around his neck and his wrists. There's so many things that were outrageous. It's not just as simple as, they were playing a character like a Kamala, which is still not great. Like, Kamala was this hunter and he came from the deepest, darkest places in Africa. This is how they would introduce him. They were saying things about, hold on, I looked this up. Telling people that they had lips like a catcher's mitt, asking them, do they eat soul food? Let me talk to you in your own language. Do you like watermelon? Like, these things, man. Man, this is not funny. Wait, let me keep going.
I'm sorry. Okay. It's just, this all got off to
I can keep
this is
going.
a serious subject. This is serious, but this all got off to a bad thing with the way Donnie put it in the document. Man. This all got off to a bad. This got off to a bad thing. The way Donnie put it in the document. Donnie, you shouldn't have put this in the document like that, bro.
They shouldn't have fired her for taking a chair. They should have gave her some swag.
Rachel talking about catcher's mitts and shit. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's really racist.
But to compare it to I'm not saying the NFL is not racist, but that WWE is wild, and they capitalize and profit off of racial stereotypes and undertones all the time. That is what they're built on. Not just as, I mean, yeah, you mentioned Vince McMahon saying the N-word, which was crazy, and even to this day they defend what happened. Like, they don't make it seem like it was as big of a deal as it was. But I'm just giving you a couple of examples. It happens all the time. They had the duo team called the Real Americans. Did you say where they were like, we're the Real Americans because you said what?
I don't know the Real Americans. Who were they? They were tag team?
Like, their whole gimmick was based off of like patriotism and xenophobia. And like, they were saying that they were the Real Americans because they were born in the United States and they entered this country legally. That's
so they were, yeah.
That's what they called them. Like, there's just so many things that they do that nobody else does it like this. And I would love to talk to somebody who has been watching from the beginning, even to now. And how do you just disregard the way that they treat not just Black people, all races, except for white?
You know, and I think a part of it is obviously the area of the country is not okay. You know, it's not. I'm telling you, this whole segment is ruined, man, because of the she stole the chair. That's just it's still no chair. Think about that. Even that's racist. That's racist as hell. Like, it's racist as hell to say we fired you because you stole a chair with the logo on. Anyway.
It just shows how ludicrous it. I think it adds a little bit of merit to her lawsuit. Right. But good luck to you, because how did you not know it wasn't racist already when you walked in?
Well, what I'm saying is, the reason why I make the comparison is because the demographics of the fan base probably pretty similar in terms of why some of these things happen. Like, why these things are what they are. Wrestling always has these sort of ethnic stereotypes that they use. Yokozuna, Kamala, all of that stuff. But they've also dipped into some of the deepest, darkest circles of racism to rile up for a storyline. And it kind of, either it's because people, like you said, people say that it's not real, or that it's all for drama or for show. They kind of get away with it. A lot of people don't talk about it. And I know you just shot the NFL a whole bunch of bail there, but the NFL is definitely as racist as the WWE.
Let's just say they show their racism in different ways. How about that?
Okay. We're going to do one, and then we're going to get to Mailbag. But I want to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger real quick. His dad was a Nazi.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I read that article. No.
Mad niggas was Nazis. We talked about Disney before.
I'm not doubting it. But I just was Nazi. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Nazi. So look, play the audio of him talking about his dad and the alleged Nazism that existed.
You stood up at this forum and you said,
and I was born with a father that was a Nazi. Think about that.
The air went out of the room. I've heard you talk about your father, but not like that. What made you say it that way?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, when I improvise a speech, I don't think about how I say something or what I say.
You used the story of your father to try to reach people who are getting sucked into groups that propagate hate. Mm-hmm. Talk about making that connection.
My father was, and so many other millions of men, was sucked into a hate system through lies and deceits. And so we have seen where that leads. As I've seen it firsthand, how broken this man were, the kind of atrocities that happened, how many millions of people had to die, and then they ended up losers. You know, the Confederacy, losers. I say, all of this just doesn't work. I mean, let's just go and get along. And love is more powerful than hate.
I love that. What a sweet message. Rachel, what do you think?
I mean, I don't really know that much about this man.
I mean, you don't have to. That's the whole thing. The whole thing is that Arnold Schwarzenegger's dad was a Nazi.
And he's calling out anti-Semitism.
Literally, this is the whole thing. What you just said is the whole thing. His dad was a Nazi. He was asked about it. That's what he said.
Let me ask you this. Is this the first time that he, was I aggressive? Is this the first time that he has spoken out about it?
It's the first time I've ever heard it. It used to be a running joke when I was at TMZ. They would talk about the fact that his dad was a Nazi. Even before then, when he was running for office, people would bring it up and stuff. But I can't remember him ever addressing it straight up and confirming that. Once again, the same History Channel show that I was on, we did something on Arnold Schwarzenegger, and, you know, they had to go learn a lot. There's some Nazi shit there. This is a Nazi.
I mean, I think that Arnold is doing exactly what you're supposed to do. I appreciate the fact that he didn't run from the question. He answered it. He called out what was wrong. I don't know if that was hard or easy for him to do, but the fact that he called out, you know, his family history and said what needed to be done rather than what was done, good for Arnold.
Good for Arnold. I guess I understand, but, you know, I do think something else.
What?
With the mailbag after this. You remember Patty Hearst? Remember her? Know the Patty Hearst story?
Yeah, the kidnapping?
Yeah. Same. So Patty Hearst, the daughter of William Randolph Hearst, or maybe the daughter of the son of William Randolph Hearst. I can't remember. I think she's his daughter. She becomes a member of the SLA, which was a Black militant organization. And they rob some banks, and you can see in one of the pictures that Patty Hearst has a gun with a beret on there, helping them rob. The rest of these people go to jail, 35 years, whatever. They go crazy, they go to jail. Patty Hearst gets convicted, but then her sentence gets commuted by Jimmy Carter. And what does Patty Hearst say? I was brainwashed. I was brainwashed by the members of the SLA. My dad used to always say that she was dick washed because she was having sex with the Black guys in the SLA, and she became a part of them, and she believed in it. She did her thing, but then she came out and she goes, hey, somebody talked me into it. Now, it occurs to me that if I'm a grown-ass man, and I don't know Arnold Schwarzenegger's dad, but I'm a grown-ass man, and somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I think we should kill 12 million people, I might say, I think that's a bad idea. I think it's pretty amazing to me to have him sit there and absolve people who, for their own selfish reasons, put their identity ahead of the lives and the safety of so many other people. And then to do it with the Confederacy as well. The Confederacy weren't a bunch of guys that were tricked into, I'm not mad, I'm just saying as a point of intellectual fact, just so we know, the Confederacy weren't a bunch of guys that were tricked into believing some things that weren't true. They were a bunch of slave-owning, redneck, nigger-hating crackers who did not want their slaves to be able to make their own sandwiches whenever they wanted. That's what they were. They didn't want us to be able to have shoes and go to school and to be able to have chairs with the WrestleMania logo on them. Yes. And so they fought for that shit. And they knew exactly what the fuck they were doing. When Hitler came in, yeah, he talked a good game, got a lot of people going. But at a certain point, Your dad is a dickhead. You know, at a certain point, your dad was just a fucking asshole who believed a bunch of things that he should have been smart enough to see were bad. At what point did
Maybe you didn't
Schwarzenegger's...
want to.
That's what my point is. So at what point does Schwarzenegger's dad not know that shit is going wrong? Does he not hear that they're rounding up people and putting them in the places where they're sticking them in the ovens? And does he not understand any of that? Because to me, see if we, let's say we was on something. Let's say we was going to Hillsong together.
Okay.
We're going to the Hillsong church. We're going, me, you, Khalik and Brian, we're going to Hillsong. And we love it. Pastors up there, they got distressed jeans on, you know, they got tattoos. We like, man, this is the shit. Whatever, right? We're great. It's great. Oh, Lord, and we feel your touch and your grace. We're going the whole thing. And then you tell me, hey, I don't know if you've heard, but it's a room at the bottom of the church. And it's like 14 girls in there. And they don't let them leave. I'm like, hey, bro, we can't come to church on Sunday. Like, is that real? Like, yeah, go and see the church.
Would you believe it?
Well,
or would you be like, that's so outrageous?
At first, I probably wouldn't. But let's say I knew that it was happening. At a certain point, if you keep going to the church, it's on you.
That's true.
You know? So I'm like, look, I'm sure Arnold Schwarzenegger loves his dad. My dad did a lot of stuff. Okay? Nutted everywhere. The reality is, I can't pretend like he did.
Okay.
I love you, Dad. God damn it. Okay, the YouTuber.
Mailbag.
He said it was all a joke. I just got to just let you know, Rachel. He said it was all a joke. The YouTuber, his name is Trayvon Sellers. He knows What's Up Trey. He said that the video that's been trending is clear the air on it. The whole video was scripted. The man you see is a friend and a member of my local community named Israel Pope. I asked him before if I could do that video. So does the fact that the whole video was set up change your mind?
No, like what was the point of that? You did it. You wanted likes. You wanted the attention. You got the attention. It's not the attention that you wanted. And you're like, people are taking this video out of context. What did you expect for people to do? Assume that you really fed him? Assume that he was a friend or a member of your community? Come on, get out of here with that. I bet he won't do it again.
What's the apology rating?
0.
0. Before we get to Mailbag, have you ever... what I need you to do... No, I need this. I think I need this. I think I want to hear on one episode coming up Rachel's top 5 apologies. I want to hear apologies that really worked for you. I want to hear what I think as an audience, we need to hear Rachel's top, because you are hard on an apology. Like you are.
Because they're always after the fact.
My
so
nigga,
just so it's
my nigga, you can't apologize before. It has
you
to be
could
after the fact.
Wait, did Jerry admit? You mentioned Jerry with the giving money to the sex worker. Did he admit that or was he caught?
Nah, they caught this nigga.
Oh, I thought you said he was honest about it. I thought when you told the story, you were like, he came out, and I was like, oh.
In his next campaign, he just like, when people were trying to come at him about it, he just fucking admitted it and talked about it. So yeah.
I'm sure I could find 3.
Nah, you got to find 5.
I'll do my research.
Y'all got to help Rachel. Like, send apologies that people have made to Rachel, and we need to find 5 apologies. Because if not, Rachel, the apology rating, it loses its power if no one ever does it right. All right. All right.
I gave a 3 the other day, a 2 or a 3.
That's out of 10 though, right?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Mailbag time. Time to read your letters and then we'll reply to them. Oh, it's mailbag time. Write us with your queries and we'll chime in.
All right. First mailbag question is from Mac NMB. They're assuming that y'all have watched the end of Snowfall. They say, as fans of the show, what did you think of the finale of Snowfall? Seems to be a pretty controversial ending, but do you think they landed the plane? Did y'all even watch it?
Wait, I watched it, but are they like speaking in a figurative manner? Like what plane?
The plane of the show. If the show... is a plane. The landing is the ending.
Wait. What a great podcast. This has been, what a fun podcast that we're doing. What Rachel thinks that Rachel watched the end of Snowfall.
I said, I know. Is he speaking?
She wants to know what actual plane was landing.
I said, or did I said, or did I miss something? Well, I was like, what? Honestly, I didn't think that the ending was, Donnie, you saw it? Van
I
hadn't
didn't, but I've been spoiled.
I've seen it. I watched it.
Like, I didn't think it was that controversial. I'm not sure what people were expecting to happen towards the end. I liked the ending of it. I liked the fact that I like Leon's story.
Leon's story was good.
What a hero.
You can't kill Franklin, and because you can't kill him, there's like not much you can do with him, you know?
Yeah. It was interesting to see what he had become. So I thought it was cool. Again, when you know it's ending, I don't know. After Breaking Bad, like I just don't expect much. I wasn't expecting anything crazy.
It's cool. Shout out to Dave and the whole team. I thought it was cool.
Great. I loved it. Thank you, Van, for turning me on to the series.
It takes place in Alaska. Next question.
All right, next one is from Gimme Shake Shuka. Inspired by Van's birthday gift story, what is the most bizarre gift you've ever received or given?
A white boy in high school gave me a rope. I almost beat his motherfucking ass.
And what did he say when he gave it to you?
He knows that I cowboy. So this guy was actually like a cool guy. And he used to ride.
So we would talk
about riding, right? We would talk about being on horses and stuff like that. He even came to the stables on Burbank with us one time. And I come to school and he was like, it's your birthday a couple of days ago, right? I was like, yeah. And he gives a rope to me. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, man, that's a lariat. And I'm like, oh, because I mean, I got a lariat up here. I can show you it. I got a lariat up there, but lariat has a noose on it.
Mm-hmm.
A little thing. I can show you my lariat. You want to see it?
No, I'm fine.
You want me to grab it though? I can, just so everybody can see the lariat.
If you really want to do it, just go ahead.
No, zero support. Go ahead, Rachel. Tell your story.
I don't really have a bizarre one. I mean, one time, yellow was my favorite color, and I had a boyfriend take that literally and bought me a yellow pairs of shoes. And I tried, and my little sister goes, he asked me, and I told him not to get you those shoes. But I guess it was he thought it was being considered as a favorite color, but they were hideous, and I never wore them. And I don't even think I took them back. I just never wore them. Yeah. Well, it's not bizarre, but
them shoes came in the motherfucking coffee. Donnie, next one.
All right. Last one is from Savon28. Do you remember the first time you were recognized by a fan in public, or the first time your family realized you were famous?
So I'm not famous, but I do remember the first time I was recognized by a fan. Rachel, do you?
No.
I do.
Okay. When? Where? What?
I was at the gym, working out at the gym. And the girl comes over to me and goes, aren't you that guy on TMZ? And I was like, yeah. She was like, shouldn't you be at work? But I used to hey, whatever. I used to tape the show, and then I would go play basketball until it was time for my tours.
Reminds me.
What?
I ran into somebody you play basketball with.
Who?
And I said, my gosh, it's always someone. Steve. Kazi?
No clue. White or black?
White, Broadway. He was like years ago. He used to play with you, like years.
Steve.
And I was like, gosh, everybody. I'm about to show you a picture. Like everybody says that they played basketball with Van. Here you go. I'll wait you, because I told him I was going to say it. Donnie, if he doesn't recognize him, we got to cut this off the podcast. So maybe this is a younger picture. So this will maybe help you. Oh.
Let me see. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah,
Okay.
just play
He
with
was
him.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh my God. He was in the movie that I was just doing.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like, I remember I used to play with him.
And he's engaged to Jenna Dewan now.
Wait, what?
Do you know who that is? Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
I
a
know
child together.
Yeah, I know
They
who
have a
Jenna
child?
Dewan is.
They have a 3-year-old son.
Let me tell you
Who's
something.
really good at basketball, by the way.
Let me tell you something about the white boys at the gym. Rachel's got to go, so but let me tell you something about the
Oh
white
yeah,
boys.
I
at the
really.
gym. The white boys at the gym would do good out here with the ladies. One of the guys at the gym, Jared, dated Jennifer Love Hewitt. This was while we were playing basketball together.
Mm.
And now Steve has got Jenna Dewan. Another one of the white boys at the gym had what's her face from the Death Race movie and whatever. That's how I know her. She like come to the gym and watch doing good at the gym. Okay, go ahead, Steve. What I used to bust Steve ass.
He
She's
still
like,
plays. He said he still plays every day.
oh, does he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said.
And you
Still plays
ask
every day.
and you try to ask him whether or not I can hoop, right? You try to
No, I didn't.
because you always
I
want to.
didn't. I just
talk
told
to
him, I
him.
was like, Van still plays. Van, he's got a goal for dunking. I was like, he's in this thing. I big upped you, okay?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm
All right.
sorry that we were so wacky on this episode. We gotta go.
Sorry.
It was funny. I'm sorry. It
Van.
wasn't.
Land the plane.
We got land the plane. Take your thinking caps off, but do not stop learning. I am Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lindsay. Bye, guys.